Hello, my friends. Don't be alarmed on what's happening in the world today, the events that's taken place in the last few days, especially, because, well, those things have to happen. It was it was done years ago, and they still do it today. They create events, things that happen, so that they can make the narrative their way, so that everything goes the way they plan. You see, once you get power, you don't want to let go of it, and you'll do whatever you have to do to keep it. It appears that way anyway. But they've been doing this since the beginning, since we can remember. See, we're all familiar with the stories of these captains and conquistadors, right? The explorers, their escapades with the fake maps that go to nowhere. Well, remember what they claimed happened to the natives in almost every corner of the world? After the ships arrived and they had dinner and smoked and exchanged gifts, right? They left, made records of who's who, the land, the kings, the wealth, and so on. And shortly after they left, or actually some of them while they were still there, every story tells on how the natives all got sick and died, right? They caught diseases from the filthy men. I mean, I don't understand how that works, but that's what they claim. So I started looking into some things and something struck me. When a serial killer or a serial bank robber, whatever you want to say, is finally caught, they rarely tell on themselves about the other crimes they did. Instead, their fingerprints and DNA catch them in all the other things they did. However, most of the time, it's their calling card that gets them blamed or linked to the other crimes. Something that they did, something that is common and, the pattern, right? And it puts that person or suspect in the light and proves their guilt on numerous fronts or on the other unsolved crimes. And most of the time, it's just the most unlikely explanation that ends up being, what's actually true. You got to think like Columbo and them, because most things are hidden in plain sight. Well, I claim that there is no way in hell that the last few hundred years or so in this time period has been miraculously responsible for so many deaths from sickness and plague. All that time that man has been on earth, and suddenly, people start visiting each other and everyone gets sick. It's almost like we had never came in contact with other civilizations until then. And then I see, well, that's not true. We know that. But who inherited the land? Who ended up getting it? They go in, they see the natives have all this. And, well, it's simple. You don't want to just go around and shooting anybody. You want to just kind of, let nature take its course. Oh, well, they got sick and got a cold and died, every one of them. Oh, is that not just a very good coincidence for you to have been able to claim that land for yourself after they all just seem to be gone? Amazing. Do any tribes actually own anything anymore? No. Here in America, we put these people on reservations. I mean, the things that's happened that the elite and the world leaders and kings of the earth have done, you know, in the last few hundred years, but especially like in the last hundred, if that, I mean, it's pretty brave. If I mean that's the word I'll is brave. I mean, they got some cojones, right, to do the things they do right in our faces. But what I'm getting at is it raised an eyebrow when I noticed that when I was doing the video, it's one that's completely different than this. I'll release it, in the next few days, maybe next week or something. But it sent me down a rabbit hole, and I realized that everything is planned. Everything from the story that was told to us is a story that someone told to cover up the true facts of what really happened. Did this events take place? Yes, yes. But now the way they took place, who did it, how it happened, see, all that's omitted and then rewritten by the victors, right? Whoever won whatever happened here is the one who wrote it. Now, all over the world, we see these ruins underneath the ground. Um, LIDAR picks it up and Google used to show us everything. And here in America, there is no record whatsoever of these civilizations out in the middle of nowhere in wasteland. It looks like subdivisions and cities, but just the imprint of them, like something came along and just swept it away or melted it or burnt. I don't know. Something happened. Well, with no record, right, of it, um, we already know that history is a complete and utter sham. It's a lie. So, what's really going on around here, right? Well, I think that there's something very, very strange about what's happening. Because why would things like this happen with like the conquistadors and the captains when we were all looking around and checking out different peoples and natives? Well, how are they prosperous and healthy, and then after we show up 6,000 years later, they all die? Seems a little bit sus to me. So then I was thinking, I don't know if it's a Mandela effect or what, but I remember them saying that viruses would they said it was a really weird thing that would happen, that they seemed like they were almost alive because, or like they were aware because they wanted to live, so they would be less evasive on the next host. Like they did not want to kill their host and make it so sick it couldn't function. They want to live, so they don't do that. They get less, lethal as time goes on. Well, apparently, over the last 100 years, they've changed that narrative. Because in the 1800s, Dr. Theobald Smith, I swear that's his name, right? He said that the law of declining virulence is the idea that infections become less lethal over time. Now, their experience that is what gave them this. Because up to the time of Dr. Smith, they totally knew all of the pathogens that man had, and there weren't many. They knew of plagues, they knew of things like that. And they also knew of bacteria and being clean and all that, right? What I'm saying is this: there was no internet. There was just trial and error. There was no one there to put false narratives on stuff and to tell their side. It was just, it is what it is. It was real science, real time, hundreds of years traveling, exploring. All their documents led them to scientific conclusions. And they said they were less deadly over the years. And that was a fact. Currently, it's claimed that, well, that was all just a lie. 100 years later, well, it doesn't work that way. Dr. Smith and every other person is just wrong. Well, I say that's not correct. There is a nefarious plan and scheme that has befell us all, and it continues to this day. Look at these labs all over the world, 54 or whatever, something of them. Now, 90% of them are run by governments, by the US and all the governments of the world. Why does the government need to do gain of function research on things? And what that means is they're giving it steroids. They're taking something that's normally inert that don't really hurt you, okay? And they're turning it into a superbug, okay? Why are they doing this? I have no idea. It should be completely illegal and they should put you under the prison for doing this, right? These events in our history, they do not make any sense whatsoever. These catastrophes that happen. Check out this website. Go to here and look it all for yourself. It's not hidden. It's all in plain sight. Well, check out what the CDC director, and those of you who don't live in the United States, a CDC director is the Center for Disease Control, the director of everything, the big top dog for, I guess, the last administration that was here. He is the previous director. Let's listen to what he has to say about the mess that transpired in 2020.
Let's take a look at what we have on TV right now, shall we?
They are strong advocates of gain-of-function research. I'm a strong advocate for a moratorium on gain-of-function research because I do believe it's very probable that this pandemic was a direct consequence of science. I do think you're right that there's a strong interest in protecting their view, protecting science, that is protecting gain-of-function research, and thereby trying to shift the debate that this obviously didn't come from the laboratory. This obviously came from nature. And that's really the push. Secondarily, and I don't blame the Chinese lab per se. The reality is the U.S. government funded this work. NIH funded it, USAID funded it, the State Department funded it, and the DoD funded it. So the United States funded the research, and the scientific community, largely in America and Europe, fostered the gain-of-function research, which was the basis for which this virus came.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah. Oh, can you believe it? It's not everywhere. It's not everyone. It's just a few, the elite, the leaders, the kings, and these scientists. I blame you, scientists, for not having the sound mind to understand what you're doing. I mean, the people who are telling you to do it, they're doing it for nefarious purposes. What you're doing, it can be used in ways that are very, very dangerous. And just because someone tells you, I'm not going to do that, doesn't mean that gives you the right to do that. Because when you take something that's already by itself just not a big deal, and it can be dangerous, it just depends, and you make it, alter it, change it into something that it was never meant to be, how do you know what you're creating? How do you know that that won't be the last thing you ever create and you just destroy all of mankind with some superbug you make? Because every day, all day, they do what they do. And what they get caught in our face doing, they do it all the time. Why don't we have boundaries anymore? Like where we draw the line at. So no one can talk their way out of anything at a certain point. Because I seen what they did on everything. If you or I did half of what they've done, no one would be able to get on the media and social platforms and explain how everyone is just inflating all the allegations. No, we would be arrested. They would shut us down and nobody would know nothing. You see, the show is always going on. And I feel like most people, they don't even realize what's actually happening in their faces. But most importantly, I don't think that half of the population really gives a damn. Honestly, they're too busy doing things. There are serious events that are taking place all over the world. And we have seen their plans firsthand and heard their psychopaths talk about world control and depopulation. We've even watched them actually play out what they actually planned in our faces. And it's funny. Let's just put another crazy thing that happens and they'll forget all about the last. It's absolutely mind-bending what comes from their mouths, what they say. Almost like, this is all just a plan. It's just a big, huge, dumbass show. Like the banking industry. I recently heard about the little small banks are all going under. Or, let me say this, they said small banks are going to go under soon, right? Well, here's the deal about that. They do things by planting the seed in the masses' head that the small banks are not where you need your money at. What happened the next day? Today, Monday, Tuesday, what happened? They went and withdrew their money from that bank. And basically, it's just they know that if they say it, people will do it. There's enough people who are so blind that they're going to do whatever they're told that basically, they don't have anything to do with the bank's closing. It's literally the people who do it. That bank doesn't just all of a sudden one day decide, well, I think I'll just shut down because I'm just really not making any money. No, that's not how that works. How that works is when everyone leaves that little bank and says, I'm not going to put my money in there, well, then now you don't have any money, so the bank has to close. A bank never closes because it's dealing with millions of dollars of money. That's not how that system works. So when you plant that seed in everybody's head that this is going to happen, well, naturally, it's almost like insider trading, right? It's like, okay, I'm telling you up front, this is going to happen. Well, then people inadvertently go make it happen by taking their money out of the banks and so on. What I'm getting at is this. Any problem that we have, big or small, whether it be money, food, it doesn't matter, okay? It only takes a pen stroke to change things. All the rest of this drama is just part of the sketch. No one has to do push-ups or enter into the Hunger Games for anything that they want, no matter what outlandish reason you come up with. A simple pen stroke is all you need to get anything done. They pay for nothing in blood. It's just ink. See, the lowest ones of us, we pay for it. All right. Now, I allege it's not the fact that science is taking place, or the fact that they're saying things about our banks, and the fact that people are shooting up places. The problem is our governments. The problem is the people in charge, the stupidity, the ignorance that they have. You see, let's just go with these dangerous places, okay? Because everyone understands about gun safety. Everyone understands about, the different things that go on in the world, with economics and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory how that all kind of works. But when it comes to something very, very serious, like biological, issues we have on this earth, things that can wipe out the entire civilization of humans, I mean, within a matter of months, just with the wind blowing, this is a problem. This is the type of things that we should be more in tune with. The things that are very, very important, like wars in other countries, things that are going on that could affect every single person on the face of the earth. Not this stupidity with little things, okay? If someone walks into some place, and here's my stance on this. If someone walks into a place and they're crazy, you can't stop it. Whether they pick up a rock, a stick, a boomerang, it doesn't matter. If they have evil in their heart, they're going to do it. It doesn't matter what they have. Now, one way that you can handle one of the problems that you have is to disarm all the people that you want to get rid of. Well, how do you do that? Well, make everybody freak out about it, right? Well, and what that does is it draws the attention off of the very serious issues we have going on, like this one with these places. Now, this body of scientists here at this page here, they're trying to help, okay? Because they too feel like playing with extinction level substances is stupid. And no one is regulating it, because not a lot of people understand and know it's happening. So there's not a lot of outrage by the public to say, hey, what are you doing right here in our city with this crap? Because in the county you live in, your sheriff has more power than the president of the United States. Trust me. Look it up. And they don't want you to know that. He is the highest, ranking official in your county. He has a right to go to that place, no matter who owns it, no matter if China owns it. In your county, your sheriff can handle it. If it goes against our Constitution and against the law of the land, he has a right to uphold the law. If you have any place like this in your county that you live in, then what you need to do is get with the local sheriff, get with the local board and all the people, the supervisors, and let them know that you guys don't like this. You're not going to take it. You don't want that kind of poison right here. Tell them to move it. Cause enough ruckus so that the news picks it up. People start to take notice, okay? Because here's the deal. No one knows the outcome, what would happen if a natural event happened next to these sites. Anything could happen, right? To all this poison they have stockpiled, the radiated material, all the biological, and just the poisons, right? It's a matter of time before a simple tornado, an earthquake, some kind of natural event takes place, and that shit goes everywhere. And this is why it's said, if not for God intervening in the end, there would be no flesh left upon the earth. I say that man does this issue here. Man is the one that's responsible. Because since God doesn't do evil, cowardice, cruel things to humans like they told you he did, it has to be humans and our buddies doing it. Now I'm going to switch gears for a second. Aliens. I've noticed that's come up so many times, and a lot of shills are out here on YouTube just throwing all these videos out here telling people the most nonsensical things I've ever heard in my life. And to you all, you know who you are. You've lost your mind and you've lost your way. I don't know what in the world you're thinking by telling people the things you're saying to them, but you've lost your damn mind and watched too much Star Trek. I'd like to say this, people. whatever you witness, whatever you're told, whatever you see come down from the sky, whatever it is, take your time to analyze it. Do not be deceived. Do not take any gifts for longevity or health from some celestial being, for God's sakes. Do not do it. Do not go with them. Do not do nothing. It's a trap. And especially, don't take the medicine they're going to offer you. I'm telling you, just use some discernment on these things and don't make any decision without thinking first. That's all I'll say about that. Just keep watch. Because technically, it's just another part of the craziest show on earth. It's going to pass. It has to happen. They have to have a scheme, a plan, a psychological event to make people scared of their own shadow. And they're not going to say, and then and for some reason, and it is Psychiatry 101. I mean, and just make you forget. Then you're going to have a different problem, a different day, and you're going to forget all about what the puppet master's back there doing, right? Because if we were to list it all out, and you could take the whole world, tell them, stop for a second, everyone look here, and put a list together over the last 20 years, what these clowns have done, both in public and in private. Yeah, people would be outraged, but it doesn't happen. And with all these schemes and stuff that's happening, we see that, well, I know you do too, all the pain in the world, all the suffering. People just go through so much. They're looking for something to save them. That's why this whole alien invasion thing is just the greatest thing they've ever come up with. Because think about how many people are going to run to it. How many people who are sick and unhealthy to get something from someone that has something miraculous, right? Think of how many people are old and weak and they don't want to die. How many people would go, oh, yes, give it to me, I'll take it. I know, right? It's rough. And, but one of the things I thought of, all these people have these problems, right? And I'm one of those people, in pain all the time. I hurt myself too. I'm kind of disabled, but being poor, is that not the suckiest thing in the world? Me and a friend were talking about that. And I said, of all the things, it sucks to be poor. And they know that. That's why they keep the money. That's why everything's always going to crash. That's why things are getting higher. Because, see, there was a time, and I can remember this, when you could have a job and make $10 an hour and you could have a place to stay. And, you know what I mean? You didn't have to have 3 or 4 people and, working just to cover rent. Rent was never thousands of dollars, a month. You could get a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere for, $300 to $500 a month, if that. I mean, it was very cheap. Now, I know that some of the bigger cities was probably a little bit different than that. But in a way, what I'm saying to you is everything's been inflated so badly that, well, everybody's poor. We live paycheck to paycheck. And, well, that's just the crappiest thing in the world, right? It reminds me of save the good wine for the old and the sick, but especially the poor, so that they may drink away their sorrows, right? Even God knew that it sucked to be poor, right? And that's pretty much what they do. They step on everyone, make us all poor and struggle, make us unhealthy and sick, and then just throw things at us every single day, every week, every month, every year, something different. And, by now you would realize that they know that the gig is up. But, well, unfortunately, half the population is totally asleep and they just are unaware of what's going on. And that's where it's your job. You take the information that you find out and spread it to the world yourself too. Because the more people that make videos, the more people you tell, the more family members you tell. Just sit them down and, and just small things at a time, because people will reject anything that they think is, not true. But once you show someone how true something is, it slaps them in the face and they will wake up. Trust me. I've woke up many people from the Matrix and, well, they thank me for it now. Now, some people are so stubborn, they still try to find their own way, and they're looking through the playbook of the clown show. And so, of course, they have a playbook so that if anyone ever tries to look, they get misdirected. Well, there's nothing you can do but just wait. Just wait, because eventually that person is going to see that all those roads lead back to one thing, and your common sense will kick in. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to do a small video and show that, things aren't not like you think they are. This stuff is man-made, and we've always done it from the beginning to the end, and we're going to keep doing it, just like the Bible tells us, or I guess I would say our grandfathers tell us. Has to happen, and it's going to happen. And I'll leave you with this on a good note, something to sleep on, from the Most High God. And I shall wipe every tear from your eyes, and death shall be no more, neither mourning, nor outcry, nor pain any more, because the former things will have passed away. I can't wait. I love you all, and until next time, I'm Wild Dog, and I am out of here.